It was Michael Jackson who said, "What about the things you pledged to leave your only son?" And I asked the question, what about the sunshine? What about the rain? But what about all of those factories and businesses that left us dead and with pain? With that thought, my sisters and brothers, good morning. I know you need to stretch your mind, so let's do this a little bit and stretch your mind a little bit. Let's talk just a little bit. Today we come at a time of what I call shock and awe. As we gather and witness history, as we read more and learn more and look at Project 2025 and all those other projects, we find that we're participating in the shaping of what we want to be a more just and equitable future for our children. We come to a time in this very room because we understand that justice is not passive. We come because we want to ask the question and answer the question and get the answer to the question, what about us? What about the places we live? What about reparations? How are we going to make things equal? What about us? And so when I think about all those us's, I say in the metropolitan East St. Louis area, because that's what I'm going to call it, we include Cahokia and Carondelet and Centerville and Washington Park and Venice and Rush City and Washington Park and some other places I don't even remember as a child. But it is critical and crucial that today we shine a light on the devastating legacy of environmental racism that has plagued these communities. These cities stand as a stark example of how systematic racism has shaped not only our environment, but our infrastructure. It has left lasting scars on the health and well-being of residents. These predominantly African-American communities have been burdened by environmental injustices. Our cities were surrounded by chemical plants, waste incinerators, and industrial facilities that released, and in all possibility probably still releasing, harmful pollutants into the air, the water, the soil, and trust me, these things affect the way you think and the way you learn. These facilities have often been placed in close proximity to residential areas, areas where people of color and limited financial opportunities live. They were exposed and are being yet exposed to lead, sulfur, organic compounds. They're facing consequences that have been and still are dire, such as elevated rates of asthma, respiratory illnesses, cancer, emphysema, and some diseases to which we don't even have a name. Decades of neglect and discriminatory practices have left our communities grappling with chronic flooding, illegal dumping, and inadequate infrastructures. The presence of industrial plants in our region has further exacerbated the industrial situation. They release pollutants. They have contaminated the environment. They have harmed our public health. Forget our personal health. Residents have reported higher incidences of cancer, and guess a whole lot of new cancers. We don't even have a name for all of them. Developmental disorders and other health issues. As we think about these things, it is imperative for us to address the environmental and infrastructural inequities that we can address. And yes, reparations are a part of that. But when I think of reparations, I think of first efforts. I think of mandatory performance. I think of actions that will include and clean up pollution, that will improve this infrastructure, that will invest not only in the health but the well-being of these affected communities. I speak of owning the problem that somebody has created. I think about proper food and proper health care and good shelter and education for everyone. You see, my sisters and brothers, this is not just about righting past wrongs. We are here to assure and ensure that as we leave this place, and when we leave this place today, everyone is going to be about the serious business of knowing how we're going to take on this problem. Everyone is going to raise their hands and have the opportunity to provide information how we can thrive on safe and sustainable environments. Period. Exclamation point. No questions. Together, not apart, not divided, not white, not black, not green, not orange. Together, we're going to have to be about it. You know what the young people say? Don't just think about it, be about it. Not on just this Saturday morning, not just for a few hours, not when we go out and get in our luxurious cars or whatever you're driving or however you got here, but, and not again next year. Next year, we're going to be talking about something else. So let's talk about what it is we need to do. What does our history tell us? I believe in looking at our past, because certainly you don't know your future if you don't know where you're being. So let's see. First, there was industrial expansion and segregation. During the late 19th and 20th centuries, East St. Louis was a hub for industrial activities. As a matter of fact, that's how my daddy got here and met my mother and married, and we had there 7 of us. They were filled with chemical plants, refineries, waste incinerators, established close to whom? Just us. They were placed near predominantly African-American neighborhoods, just in case some of you don't know who Just Us is. Second, there was redlining and discriminatory zoning. These restricted African-American families to specific areas, and these areas were very often near industrial zones. As a matter of fact, for years, my family lived right across the street on Walnut from the paint factory. And you can imagine the odors and the smells and the various chemicals that came out of that building. Third, there was the corporate exploitation. Companies like Monsanto and Big River Zinc, who established operations in places like Sojay, but just outside East St. Louis to avoid taxation and political oversight. This allowed them to operate freely without anybody making them accountable, leading to what? Significant environmental degradation, health risks for nearby residents, and, of course, that affected families in a negative way. Then there was economic decline and infrastructure neglect. I still remember when Armour Packing House left and my father didn't have a job. I still remember when the glass company closed and other businesses, and this led to a lack of jobs and a sinking economy. And of course, a sinking economy means a sinking and shrinking tax base. This economic decline resulted in what? Your trash wasn't picked up. So you fill with all these odors. Sewer system maintenance, you fill with all of those odors and all of those fumes. Other long-lasting and exacerbating environmental issues. Then there was flooding, and I don't know about you, but there's water in my backyard right now, and toxic waste, because we had what? An aging infrastructure, chronic flooding, environmental toxins, contaminants from industrial sites, old and new. Some of those places have never been cleaned up. No one has ever lifted those covers on them and taken away all those chemicals and all the leftover residue there. So what do we have? A cycle of environmental and infrastructural inequities that affect our health, the quality of life, injustices, if you want to name them something. The environmental injustices faced by our cities share similarities, however, with other cities. We're not by ourselves. We don't care, however, to be with the group. We want to be by ourselves. We want to be healthy and well and all of those good things. But let me tell you how we compare. Like East St. Louis and her area, cities such as Flint, Michigan, I know if you look at television, listen to the radio, or read the newspaper, you've heard about Flint, Michigan, and Chester, Pennsylvania. They have suffered from industrial pollution, and guess who was affected? Just us. In Flint, the water crisis exposed residents to lead contamination, while Chester has long been burdened by waste incinerators and industrial facilities. We, however, stand out. We stand above everybody else because we have all of them. We stand covered by chemical plant density, by factories too close to us, which led to leading long-lasting and widespread health issues. Then there are the health disparities. The health consequences of environmental racism in our area mirror those in places like that's called Cancer Alley in Louisiana, where predominantly Black communities face elevated cancer rates due to petrochemicals plants. I had never heard that word before. So whatever that is, that's what they have. Similarly, East St. Louis residents experience high rates of asthma, cancer, and other illnesses linked to these toxins. Then there's infrastructure neglect. Cities like Detroit, Michigan, and Jackson, Mississippi have faced these infrastructure crises, including failing water systems and chronic flooding. Our areas share these same struggles with aging sewer systems, the combination of industrial pollution and infrastructure, and of course we combine all of these things, they create a compound burden, and this is rarely seen anywhere else. And then of course there's economic disinvestment. Many cities with environmental injustice, such as Baltimore, Maryland, and Gary, Indiana, have experienced economic decline and disinvestment, leading to reduced public services and worsening environmental conditions. But we are not an exception to even that, because we have the shrinking tax base and we have the limited resources to address environmental and infrastructural challenges. Now, while these cities share common threads of environmental racism, we are unique to the extent in which industrial pollution, health disparities, and infrastructure neglect intersect with us. Addressing these injustices takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of tenacity. You have to be tenacious and what I call fierce. You know, among women, those of us who are influencers, I think I'm influenced. I had so many titles, they couldn't even put enough on my program. So I know I must be an influencer because they didn't want me to influence anybody else. But we influencers, and that's everybody in this room, because we all influence someone. If you're not, when you leave for the day, what time is it? 11:05 or whatever, be an influencer by 11:10. Address these injustices because they do require a tenacious, focused, tailored mindset that acknowledges first our history, second, the systematic factors that are at play, and third, what we're going to do to get a cure. Now, I'm an English teacher. I don't mean what are we going to do to get it. I mean, what are we going to do? We are in this room. So we in this room must leave and we must confront the environmental injustices that have plagued our communities. We must look at the racism. We must look at the environment. We must look at our infrastructure. And even as we do that, we must also recognize the power of collective action and the potential for transformation. So you say, Peggy Lewis Compte, what does that mean? That means what you gonna do? What can we do? How soon can you do it? Where are you on the ladder of doing it? So where are we on that ladder now? Well, we're at advocacy and awareness, because we're here today becoming aware. If you didn't know, you now know. So don't leave here and say you didn't hear anything that was new that you didn't know. We can organize. We can participate in public forums. We can raise awareness by raising sand. I'm not a quiet person, you can tell that. Okay. I'm kind of like one of my friends who is in a position of leadership, and they came and said, we're going to give you the names of all the people you must fire, but you have to keep it for 3 months. He said, well, don't tell me because I'm going to tell everybody. Well, if I know it, I am going to tell it. So we've got to have, well, let me say this. First, we must realize that in East St. Louis, we've had community meetings. We brought attention to issues like illegal dumping, flooding, and pollution, but we haven't done enough. We can't let 5 or 6 people represent us and rest on their laurels because they're not your laurels. We must be heard, and our cry must be answered. You don't just jump on somebody and walk away. You think or did. Ask anybody when I was president of the teachers union. We didn't believe in that. We believe in talking and walking. So when you get through talking to the people, and who are the people? The people are everybody. You can't discriminate against discrimination by saying, oh, just we with college degrees are going to talk. Guess what? You don't have all the thoughts. So we must talk to all the people in all the places, not some of the people in some of the places. Second, we got to collaborate with organizations. Now, let's not get all confused about being a top lady and the AK and the Delta and the C. It ain't about that. It's about all of us suffering from these diseases. So we've got to get together and have a bipartisan, bi-club, biracial infrastructure act or action. We got to help secure funds for critical projects. And we got to do something we really don't like to do. We got to read, and we got to write, and we got to speak up. Write those governmental officials. They're just human beings. What they gonna do? And it's more of us than it is of them. So that's the way I see it. So we got to show up, show out, move up, and move out. Third, there's the grassroots movement, such as neighborhood cleanups. I know that's a bad word because I hate cleaning up in my own house. However, it's the truth. Some of our brothers and sisters don't clean up. We got to plant trees. Trees are wonderful for the environment. We've got to improve our local environments, and we've got to be, well, we've got to have solidarity. We've all got to be on one accord. Where are we going? When are we going to get there? How soon is it going to take us? Who are we going to see? Who cleaned up? Who messed up? Who are we going to beat up for doing that? Fourth is policy engagement. We've got to advocate for policy changes at the local and state level. That's where we're all needed. Some of us can talk what it is, and some of us can write down what you said, what it is, and then we'll take to the person who's going to do something about it. Everybody has a talent and a skill. I truly believe that. So we all, A-L-L, capitalized, punctuation marks, all that good stuff, underlined, must get in line. And politics is so ugly. Life is politics. I'm going to say it again. And it may be ugly. All parts of life are ugly. But so are chemicals and diseases. So get on board. Cut it out. Stop with that. Education and empowerment. Well, Alvin has talked about that quite well. So, we got to educate our people. We got to get the literature out. We got to be seen and be heard. Then we got to learn from other people's mistakes, other people's struggles. We've got to read and write and look and talk to other people, such as Chester, Illinois, and Pennsylvania, where they took plans together, where they came up with efforts to hold polluting conferences and talk to the industries and go get in the face of the bosses. Change is possible. It's possible when communities unite and demand justice. When we do that, change will come. The fight for environmental and structural equity is not new. It's not that old. But it is not just about addressing past wrongs, but about building a future where everybody can thrive. Today, I call on you. No, I'm going to do better than that. I'm issuing a call to action. I'm calling on you to first say, first ask yourself this, when you say, what about us, what you're talking about? The us that has the cancer. What about us? Our children who have strange diseases. What about us? The buildings that are falling down. What about us? The trash that's not being picked up. What about us? The plant that left all these pollutants. So as we move forward, one of the things we're going to do as us is call and draw inspiration from the successes to together dismantle, to ask ourselves, what can I do? How can I be a part of this? Where do I fit in? I don't fit in, I'm going to get in. This is a shared responsibility. It's not a fight about this St. Louis. It's about all of us. I can do it. You can do it. He, she, or it can do it. We can do it because it's just about us.
All right.